Hello artsies, this is Mrs. B. Welcome to Umaarteng Penmanship. For today's video, I will teach you how to paint watercolor sunset. I started tracing a half a circle using a coin for the sun. Then I erase a bit because I won't be able to erase it after once the painting is dry. I grab my water spray to wet all of the areas of my watercolor block. So I use a block instead of a sheet of paper because this is easy whenever I do a wet on wet painting. I use a size 12 of my Kolinsky sable brush to even the water on my paper. You can also use a wide flat brush, but the size of my paper is 7 by 5 inches. The first color that I use is Cadmium Lemon, and I started on the sides of the sun and the reflection on the water below. As much as possible, I left the sun with a bit of color. Then I added orange to my Cadmium Lemon and a bit of sepia. Then more pigments of the same colors on the top and the side. Using a rolled tissue paper, I dab it to the top and shape it as white clouds. I made it a bit too much, I guess, because this is so fun. Then I added more orange and sepia on the right side, then on the water below. I used a neutral tint and I added it evenly to show dimensions with different values. Also, I held my brush as is lying down on the paper and did not hold it like a pen like 45 degrees. I held my brush closer to the end of the handle. I also added more of the neutral tint to have more value of the same color, just like in the picture. I also added a bit of mixture of yellow orange with sepia to the water for the sunlight, then I just let it dry. Now my background is dry. I will continue painting the middle ground. For the mountains, I use a round brush size 4 with sepia and neutral tint colors. I didn't copy the shape of the mountains like what I see in the picture. I just painted the mountains how I would like them to be. Just slowly paint the mountains at the far end, and I use the same mixture with less water to paint the next mountain. I also added the horizon line to separate the mountains and the sky from the water. For the mountains, I made some parts of the mountains lower and some areas are higher than the first one that I painted. For the third mountain, that is the closest, I added more pigment of neutral tint and a very little water. So I'll just continue painting and I will just play relaxing music while you watch. Also using neutral tint, I made horizontal broken lines that made an illusion of water waves. I switched also from size 4 round brush to size 3 by 0 to make thinner lines. I also did it in different values of neutral tint. I hope you find this part relaxing from watching to painting with good music in the background. Once the paint is all dry, I started with the foreground, which are the grasses and some plants. I started to paint from the left, going to the right. I did this because I am right-handed and to avoid accidents of resting my hand on the wet areas of the paper. You can also do it from right to left, which is more comfortable for you. You don't have to copy the grass on the picture. You can change it a bit. Using the tip of my brush, I started to paint from the bottom with the cream consistency going up. For the wheat, I painted almost to the tip and a bit wide, and as you go up to the tip, it goes thinner and smaller. For the grass and a little of the leaf, you can flick your brush on the side that can make leaves. Painting the water and the crafts took a long time, but it's also a good brush control exercise. If you do not have a detailed brush, you can also use a liner brush or a round brush or mop brush with a very pointed tip. Remember that you don't have to copy what you can see in the picture. You can simplify your painting. Most of the grass is going to the left and there are some that goes to the right. Whenever I observe pictures that I use for painting, I look into these small details because it is useful to add realism to your artwork and that is catchy to the eyes. For the watercolors that I use Winsor and Newton Cadmium Lemon and Neutral Tint. I also use Shinhan Professional Orange and Shinhan PWC Sepia. For the paper, I use Baohong cold press in block that is 100% cotton and the size of the paper is 7 inches by 5 inches. For the brushes, I use a size 12 Kolinsky sable brush, 3 by 0 Kolinsky sable brush, and size 4 Princeton Select brush. I also use tissue paper for blotting and shaping the clouds. All of the materials are listed in the description box so you can check it out. Now I'm done with my painting. It's time to add my signature and use a small roller to remove the paper from the block. This is safer than using a cutter. I hope you can try this painting. I also added the link for the reference photo in the description box. I encourage you to join me and post your work on Instagram with hashtag umapensunsetlake. If you like this video, remember to put a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing for more watercolor tutorials, calligraphy, and art materials review. Till next time!